You're watching LindsayTVFilm Podcast. I'm Lindsay. This show is called Dino Fury, Finally. So, had to do a last minute change and record this because I'm going my dad a bit later on in the day today. By the time it drops, so I'm going to drop the original scheduled time around the stream. I had to do this last minute and pre-record it, and I didn't want to delay this anymore because Kenobi's in the middle right now. I'm going to wait until the next stream or episode to do anything with that. But it's like, Dino Fury came out in March, and so did Boba Fett, I believe. So, covering those today, decided to finally do a little spotlight on Prod Family, and also Risk just came out and said, you know what, might as well do that, pop that in here as well. Some thoughts going down for Dino Theory is Tark doesn't want his love back, but Santora seeks vengeance from humanity, kind of similar to Oraz in a way, from Rise Soldier. Becoming Void Queen, Tarek doubts himself, although survives, basically the same as guys with the purification bit, like the armor, like his shield becomes the claw morpher for the battleizer. And also there's a big clip from the training sequence during the where Javi used it to help train Zato. It's a creative use of that. And they bring the mom in, bring Izzy's mom in for 2 episodes back to back. One was the prom social I was talking about back at the time, and the following episode kind of helps finally cement that the parents finally accept their kids for their choices and who they want to be and how they want to live. And apparently Baby Pack didn't exist back in the day in the series, but so how did the Baby Zord come to be if there's only one Packy Zord? And a rock band shows up, but they kind of break apart because the leader's kind of an ass, but Javi fills in for the guitar, so they break up shortly after, and then the guitarist comes back in the final episode of this half, where he steals Javi's song, but Javi's fish tried to do something new for the final day of the event, and then ends up doing a twist on it, trying to kind of prove just how much of a Renaissance musician he is, like, doing many things, not like a style or a genre. Like, he's not playing a Carmina Burana. That's all too wrong for Power Rangers. Apparently, Call-It's on the Space Dragon was part of a NR62 project, and the Fairy Nights was turned into a machine. Yes, that's the only way you can make sense being a CGI thing. I wonder if Mucus and Void Queen will have more of a relationship in the second half, being the 2 female villains, but I don't really see that. It probably is just going to stick to the source material with the relationship with Wizard's character, Slither, yeah. And Frontiers of Rescue Rangers, most of them didn't really tease that the others would be back or would only show up in the past. It was just going to be like a Chip and Dale movie, but the whole plot centers around them getting into the problem with after Monty is captured, and then the other 2 come back at the very end after I think Chip is put in danger. The whole connection with Peter Pan to the original voice actor for Peter Pan goes kind of low, but the cool boss room at the end is pretty interesting, and it goes back to an old gag scene at the very beginning of the film that they're shooting with, where they use like the birds have to be like show up and have to do the thing, and it's the middle of the night in the case of the events of the film with the climax. And it kind of makes me, the whole bit with kind of going back to the old plots makes me think of one episode of Kid vs. Kat where the protagonist friend had a relative who thought he had a kung fu school and tried to train him based off of what he knew, but then he finds out that it's a kung fu theater, and so he was teaching him movie plots, and the cat was smarter than him and knew that. And I was really familiar with these Disney afternoon characters being born in the 2000s. Like, I would think more of like House of Mouse, Static Shock, Recess, even the Proud Family here in this case. In terms of animation, it was Static Shock was WB, and that was in syndication about it. Late Toon Disney, early Disney XD era. Saying people really want Darkwing, and I say, go for it, whether it be series, movie. So I really kind of understand the true basis of the Proud until there was one episode that I watched really dealt with sort of like civil rights and stuff, because Penny actually like blacked out just that and the movie, which is kind of funny, I guess. It's kind of like I knew kind of reading up going into this that Wizard Kelly had some power, but it's not like he had a pass with Oscar, but or basically like the black equivalent of Abraham Levitt, who created all the Levitt towns in the 50s. There's one not that far away, near Sesame Place, actually, where I was last weekend. The next 2 weekends, I'll be in the Jersey Shore and Avalon. Like, try and see if I can be able to go to the Bull Rock Parks there. I don't drive. I'm not really much of a beach person. But from the old episodes and the new ones, it does have a nice main street, like, around these parts I know of, but the main old walking towns by the train. And there's a new, one of the old characters was out, and his place was replaced by 2 new kids who are adopted by a gay couple. And there was a whole bit with that one. That's where they end up all dancing, having gumbo together. And then the 2 siblings are Maya, KG and Maya becomes friends with Penny, Zoe, the whole crew. It's not interesting that with Boba Fett is that they come up with that he, out of surviving the Sarlacc pit, he lived with the Tuskens for a while. First, initially as a slave, but then he saves their life and gets more into their culture and ends up becoming a mediator trying to protect their lands, but they end up getting a scuffs with the Pikes, and they try to blame it on an old arguing. They initially try to hide that Boba Fett supposedly defeated prior, and also Fennec is actually part droid, and then he later takes on, in the present timeline, he takes on some annoying teenagers who also have like droid modifications, which kind of interesting parallels, like, hey, you have no job, you're causing a ruckus, you serve me now. That's still like definitely probably a lot more kind of like constructive of one way to clear up the streets. But again, with the Pikes coming back, he's initially at odds with the Jawa's relatives, but they back out once they know the Pikes are getting involved and leave a Rancor as sort of like a peace offering, and their old Wookiee attempted to kill him as tribute. And, Boba Fett initially wants him gone. The new Wookiee ends up sticking around. Also, Jaws really stole the armor, and then it went to the Sheriff in Mouse Pelg, which becomes Freetown in the series. And then I know as the show was going on, people said that basically the Mandalorian still show, like, Boba Fett doesn't appear at all in episode 5 and barely appears in episode 6. So basically, episode 5 is basically Mandalorian season 3, episode 1, where he ends up being officially banished out of the Order and kind of is now just a rogue. But before he leaves, they melt down his weapon that he gets in season 2, because it'd be dangerous to up in the wrong hands, because it's near Beskar and something, can pierce Beskar. So he decides to turn it into an armor piece for Grogu, and that leaves Grogu deciding whether or not he should continue with Luke to be a Jedi or return to the Mandalorian. And so he ends up with Mando, and that comes just in time with the final battle of the Pikes, and using the Force helps them destroy the Pikes' massive turret things, which I believe there were smaller versions of those in the trilogy with the Force fields. I think the beginnings you could hit them with the lightsabers, they would eventually lose, and then you could blow them up for good. But doing like the field, it's like just a bit smaller, but just so big. So you just extrapolate that, so it just doesn't work as well. Not even the dark side could really pierce it until damage could start being done. And also replacing, it's the Naboo Starfighter, which kind of interesting. I didn't guess I was able to hot ward off spoiler fairly well, but like when he was like, is it technically getting passed down from Anakin to him after all that time, or is it just the same model year and possibly maybe a few parts coming from Anakin's Starfighter? Also, Boba tried to get them either to serve me or stay neutral, but they turned on him anyway. And also, that sheriff from Most Powerful Freetown, he ends up getting killed by Cad Bane, and the town's initially weary about how something going on in Mos Espa will affect them. They end up deciding to head off after the sheriff and deputy are killed. Then Boba Fett ends up killing Cad Bane in the finale, and that is basically the end. So yeah, it's kind of going through it kind of quick. So you can see all the prequel between the originals and the sequel trilogy. some stuff of my childhood. Also, again, mostly Disney stuff, but Dumbo is the main thing I wanted to get out of this thing. And so, next episode, Kenobi will be done. And I did watch the Revice movies, so this next one's going to be a Revice focus, just because I think will be cut. Because after that, it'll be after Ranger Station, so I'm going to talk about that, Dawn Brothers, and anything else I decide to watch. We're going to discuss in the meantime after that. After Ranger Station would be the Revice review. I'm not sure if there's anything was coming out in the short term. So yeah, just a quick vid making up for lost time. I might cut some O's and O's out of this, but I don't. Maybe I know I had some photos and stuff, but yeah. Time will tell. So until next time, I'm Lindsay. Call, subscribe, and strike the bell.